Hey folks, welcome back to the Product Pivot. I'm Santi and I have my incredible co-host Megan with me today. And just to give a little recap about this podcast, we share stories from all kinds of product people and aspiring product people. Folks that want to share more about their journey, how they got into product, things that they've learned in their time in product, and all that fun stuff. So today we are super excited to have Kartikeya with us. I'm going to flip it over to him though, because he will give more of an introduction about himself now.
Hey, thank you so much, Santi and Megan, for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Kartikeya. I'm currently working as a project manager at RozieAI. My role involves managing end-to-end project delivery from ideation to the final delivery. At RozieAI, we build AI-led customer experience solutions. So basically, if you need anything related to customers, just reach out to us. So thank you, and I'm really looking forward to share my journey into product management. So really looking forward to it. Thank you.
I love that. As a fellow project manager coming from that project management background, I'm so excited that you're here. So, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm really excited to hear more about your journey and how you found product management along the way because I know both roles get confused so easily. So, can you take some time to share a little bit about your journey with us?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually started in engineering. I have an engineering degree. Then I moved into market research and business analytics. And when I came to the US to do an MBA from NC State, so my major was marketing, and I was doing a certification in business analytics. But one of my career advisors, she asked me, "Hey, if you want to pursue a dual degree, so you can do that as well." And then that's how I was exploring, okay, what can I do? Finance, supply chain? No. Then I found this product innovation, and when I read about it and tried to speak with people and understood more about it, I got to know that okay, this is something which closely relates to my previous work experience and my interests. So that is how I got into product. And during the school, I got an opportunity to work on live projects and work with some amazing professors. So in that phase, I realized that okay, this is something that I want to do, because until now I was just talking to the customers, analyzing the data and presenting those insights to the clients and customers. But when I looked at the product, so it is like one step ahead, which is you are actually building the solution and you are delivering it. So it really intrigued me that how my insights that I'm sharing with the clients is being used to build a real solution. So that's how I got interested into product management.
So, in the data space, you spent time talking to customers as well.
Yes. So there would be surveys which I'll go to the customers, talk to them, or analyze the data. So that's how I got to know what is the customer perception and how the insights would help my clients to build a solution for them.
That's so cool. Santi, I think that, you and I have talked a lot about data and the value behind data. And I think that, like I said, such a core space to talk to customers, right? And that's such a, like, looking back at some of the guests that we've had on the podcast, talking to customers is really what sparks a lot of the innovation and the goal behind becoming a product manager. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Santi.
It was just very evident when you were talking that customer led and like customer focus was shining through in your answers. And that love you have is exactly what fuels so many of us as PMs. Like we're problem solvers ultimately, like that's kind of at the root, but it's who are we solving the problem for? Customers with business in mind, of course. So
You
I
always add that part.
Yeah.
You don't want anyone to listen to this podcast and like say, "Oh, Santi didn't talk about business."
yeah. I am crossing all of my no, but it was evident. It was evident that that was a love for you. And I guess this kind of segues a little bit into our next question because obviously as a project manager, we do like I say we like the function does deal with clients and stakeholders depending on what type of project manager you are. Like what excited you the most about wanting to go into product even though you could technically have a very fulfilling career also in project management? Like what was that distinction for you?
Uh, I would say so. Like you said, I could have actually returned to my previous career, which is like maybe a market research role or a business analytics role. But what was really intriguing for me is so when I came here at Rosie, I could see it live in front of me. So, Aaron, right? So, over the last few months, I've been working directly with him, and I could really see that how what is a day in the life of a product manager looks like. So, I was doing, and I'm currently also doing the project management work, which is also exciting. But I also had this. I always wanted to learn, like, okay, what actually is a product manager? Because at school, I did not get so much exposure, but having worked directly with a product leader, so I could see right in front of me, okay, these are all the things that he can do. And I think the best part is because uh, if I go back in the day as a child, I would always be wanting to try like different things. Okay, I want to try this sport if someone is playing. I want to play an instrument, say whether it's a guitar or a piano, or I would love to dance. Because if I see someone doing it, I say maybe I should also try this. So that's what attracts me with product management. Also, it's not like a monotonous job. Every day or every hour, probably either you are talking to the customers, the other day you are analyzing data, and probably the other day you are working on the roadmap. So that variety is what I felt like I really loved, and that is what kept me going. Okay, hey, I also want to try this sometime in future.
You like that it can no 2 days look the same. Essentially, is what you
Yeah.
really like. Gotcha, gotcha.
I think we hear that a lot. Like anyone that I talk to that's a product manager or Santi, I'm notorious to be a Reddit scroller. So I'm constantly sending you Reddit threads and I'm always on the product management subreddit. It's constantly something that I see that people really love being a product manager because no 2 days look the same. And I think that is not only a source of love, but it's also a source of stress because every day is not monotonous. So it's like not the same every day. You don't come into work knowing what you're doing that day. It's like a fire can be there and something needs to be a little bit different, and your day can shift on a dime. But it's also just like a source of the chaos that I think some of us really love, and it makes it a good fit for a lot of us. But I mean, that also, I guess, pushes a question back on you. Do you love the chaos?
I actually like the ambiguity around it. Uh, that's what I see it, and now working so closely with the product manager, so I see because I feel like if I'm doing say 4 projects and I'm doing the same things on all of those projects, then maybe I might get bored.
Yeah.
But if there is, I'm doing just one project but I'm doing or managing several things into it, then it is like I'm getting to learn something from each aspect of it. So but I totally agree, there are pros and cons to it, and it is hectic sometimes, but I think I like it.
I can relate to that from my background in project management. There's like, you set up your board, you run through your tasks, you give those tasks to different people, you make sure they're completing their tasks. There's a lot of like to-dos associated with project management that don't change. So I completely understand. And Santi, I mean, I know there's like an operational background that you have as well, like an ops background. So, and even now you're doing product ops. So I know that you kind of know that project management piece as well. So I'm sure that you can relate.
100%, 100%. It is. There are just some things that you just gotta do, right? Like it's just it is just it is what it is. It's repeatable. It's things you just gotta do to get XYZ to the finish line.
Yeah.
That said, though, you touched on something about the pros and cons. Now I want to dig into the cons a little bit. We're very honest on this podcast. We're very, very honest. And I want to hear about that because, from folks that Meg and I chat with, you've probably heard it from chatting with fellow aspiring PMs as well. It's hard to break into product, especially right now. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It's very hard. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. And I kind of want to hear about some of the cons of like what you've run into while, making your pivot into product. What's some of the cons that you're experiencing as you're working in product, like doing product work and all that fun stuff. And feel free to be totally honest here, because Meg and I could go on for a while about this as well. Because with good there is bad. So we'd love to hear your take on that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the biggest con is which I experienced when I was looking for a job. So, if you go into LinkedIn and you find like entry level, you search for entry level product managers, it says entry level, but there's no such role like that. When you read the job description, it says at least 3 to 5 years of experience you need. So I think that is the biggest con. The second thing that I'm kind of discovering now, which is you are managing different stakeholders, but you cannot keep everyone happy. So, and someone like me who would love to keep everyone happy, that's another challenge. But that's how it is.
Hey everyone, it's Santi popping in real quick to talk about Prodfolio. As we know, storytelling is a massive part of product management, but sometimes we struggle to tell our own. Meg and I are no exception, and after having many conversations with other product people, we noticed a trend. Lots of other PMs struggle to tell their story too. So, like this podcast, Meg and I set off to help close this gap we were seeing, which is where Prodfolio comes in. Prodfolio is a portfolio building tool that helps product managers tell their story in a way that hiring managers are actually interested in seeing, all in a fraction of the time as other methods. Show your work, own your impact. Link in the description.
Yeah, you got to learn how to say no as
Yeah.
a product manager, and that is tough. I deal with that a lot, especially with actually, it's kind of funny. I left a company that I had started at when I was a seventh employee. I left for a short period of time, and now I'm back in a fractional capacity. And some of the people that I work with there, I consider very close friends because I worked there from such a very early state, and saying no is probably one of the hardest things to do because these people I'm so close with. And I think that like the deeper relationships you build with people, the harder it is to say no. It's like, I want to please everybody. So I think that that's really difficult. And I know, Santi, you've worked in early stage startups. I know that Rosie is an earlier stage startup. So I know like you guys probably experience this as well, because the smaller the company, the deeper those relationships really do become.
That is such a good point. It literally, when you said that, I was like, there it is. Because product management, a big part of this role is relationship building and to build those deep connections with people. So it's crucial for the role, but then those difficult conversations or those, hey, that is actually a super solid idea, definitely could explore it, can't right now. Like it's a valid answer. It doesn't make it any easier to convey that. So I'd love to hear from you guys as well on this. What I personally do is I like to tie everything back to kind of some data, some strategy, and kind of where we're going and what that means. So if I were to say, if someone came to me and said, hey, I think we should really be looking at XYZ, it's not like, and I'm not going to say like, that's horrible, no, get it out of my face right away. But we'll look at it and we'll say, hey, this is great. Thanks for bringing this to me. Here's kind of what we're doing right now. Here's the data that we're seeing to back that, and here's how it's tying up into the product strategy, and then also tying into like our overall business strategy. And here's the bets that we placed. I'm not saying that they can't be changed at all, but if it's something that we can kind of suss out and be like, this is cool, it's just not a not now, it's a not now item. That's how I try to like to frame those conversations. But I'd love to hear from you both on how you've done that, especially you as well, Kartikeya, because it's, as an aspiring PM and someone pivoting into PM, those conversations are a little trickier sometimes to navigate because you don't really know exactly how to do it yet. And we've all been there.
Sure. So I feel like one of the very important things is the culture around you, uh, in terms of navigating through those situations and to have the hard conversation, because people should have people have their own perspectives, but they should also understand the other person's side also. So I feel that is what I've been fortunate to be working at an organization where it's so inclusive and everybody is listening to you. So I think that really helps. And the other side of it is, you should also have clients like that, that they should understand what you are trying to communicate. So, and like you said, Santi, if you present the facts to them, that this is the data, this is how it looks like, and to that, so for example, I have a product roadmap, and the client is saying, okay, I want these 5 things now, but that's not on my product roadmap, then I should be able to explain it to them, say this is what we feel based on the data, that these solutions would be a better thing to do than to just go with what you are saying. And a recent example is, I'm currently working very closely with a client, with Aaron, who's my product manager. So there was a point where they said, okay, we want this and this, but then we literally had to bring them to the table and tell them, okay, so we've researched and we think that these are the solutions that will be better for the customers, and they understood it. So that really helped us to have that hard conversation and be able to explain what is important, or what will create value for the customers.
It sounds like you did a lot of in depth research. Do you have any tips for someone who may be struggling with those types of conversations right now?
I would say, uh, just be honest, and and whether it's your client or your internal teams, be honest about it and try to tell the story, or back what you are saying with facts and not just throwing it out. Just back whatever you're saying with some facts, with some data, whatever that is. And and talk to your engineers. I think that they are the soul of everything in terms of the building a solution. So understand from them, because sometimes not everyone understands the technical jargons or the technical language. So try to understand that. So I think that is really helping me currently.
I think that's super, super true. That's great advice because I feel like a lot of the times, and Santi, please correct me if you don't agree, and I'm super down to be challenged on this, but I think a lot of the times that we forget that data and just being human, like honest with the clients and customers, is like all they want. I think sometimes sharing that factual information, that data, like this is why we do it that way, this is all we can accomplish because of X, that's all they really want. Even if it is a no, they can come down to our level a lot of the time. Granted, I know there's a lot of clients out there and they're usually the ones that pay us the least, that want the world, but well, there's usually a middle ground where they'll understand if you're honest and factual and able to present some data. But Santi, would love to hear your thoughts.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, this is a little sidebar for me, but I have noticed and I've heard that customers are actually much more satisfied with teams that they work, like vendors that they buy, like solutions they buy, when their team, their support team, their customer success team, what have you, are just human. Like they're not trying to be fluffy, and they're not, obviously you have to have like a level of like how you communicate certain things, but they're human. They talk, like they have that relationship. They just talk to one another like two humans just doing their thing. And I'll just give an example. A piece of feedback I had heard about why a client was actually more satisfied with us. The product stuff aside was great, but they were like, I actually really like you guys as a team and as a company because you don't do sleazy salespeople stuff. And I was like, okay, there's some stuff to unpack there, but the root of what I think they were trying to say is basically we like the human side of this. We like having just the honest conversations, having, having these facts presented, or etc., open to questions, open to different lenses on things. So I know I'm noticing now, especially in the tech space, it's really customer success and like how a company presents themselves from a service perspective, like from the support side, is really important. Just, it can be just as important as the product sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the more the more you consider, I mean, I would date that back like even 2020 and earlier. The more you support customers in a human first way, the more buy-in you get from them. And sometimes that would even be true if your product doesn't work. I've seen customers choose a non-working up to par, a non up to par product over a completely working up to par product just for the support they received. I have seen that happen. And I don't know why, because personally, I want my product to work. But at the end of the day, sometimes those relationships matter and the support you receive really matters. So I've seen that happen firsthand.
100%. I literally was using a tool or a platform the other day, and it like there was no way to contact support. And I remember being so frustrated and being like, I will absolutely not use this tool unless I absolutely need to.
I did want to bring up the fact that you're getting opportunities to actually have product like responsibilities at Rosie, which is really, really exciting. So I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about how hands on experience is really contributing to things that you're learning that a course or a textbook couldn't teach you?
Yes. So just a backstory to it. So I was given this opportunity a few months ago, knowing my interest in product management. I was doing the project management stuff, but then my product leader, he asked me that, hey, do you want to manage this product? So he completely handed off it to me and say, okay. And I was a little nervous, but he said, I'll be behind your back and I'll guide you. So that was good to know. And so the thing is, what I have realized is, because in my journey before trying to find a product manager role, I tried to like come on or listen to the podcasts like these, which are related to product, read books, or talk to product managers, reach out to them on LinkedIn and things like that. But and I also did like some certifications. So all those books, certifications, they ask you to go by the book. So for example, uh, apply the rice framework or the Moscow framework. But what I've learned is, actually, it is sometimes you have to keep those on the side when you're actually working. So that is what has really helped me in learning. And when I look at this from the with the current work that I'm doing, so sometimes it's like you need to keep other things in front. So which is like, what are the business goals, what is the customer wants. So that is all I'm learning, that maybe it is good to know and apply those things which you study or read in the books, but not actually, they may not be actually needed when you are in the real world and managing a product.
Ooh, there's an art of what not to do. And I
Yeah.
love that we're touching on this. I had um a really great snippet from an episode we had done with a season 2 guest, and we talked about this sort of thing where it was like, what are some best practices, et cetera, et cetera. And best practices are great. There's some things that are really tried and true that do work a lot of the time, but it's not going to be always. And his advice was live your reality. And that was, to me, was just a very like nice reaffirming thing, because sometimes I think as product managers, a lot of us have done what you've done, read the books, looked at the podcast, did the courses. So when we feel like we're not doing the things that they teach, we almost feel like we're bad PMs. I might just be speaking for myself here, but we can almost feel like we're bad PMs. We're like, oh no, this is like, what are we doing? But there is just that element of having to be flexible and adaptable to the current situation to get to the end of the line and get the project or the initiative, what have you, to the end goal. We can retro it, and I think we always should. We should always do a good retro of what's working, what isn't working, and trying to find ways to make things better. But yeah, it's very much a live your reality situation. Meg, I don't know if you want to add to that, but that's something I've kind of picked up in my own professional career.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think that the problem is, I mean, at least in how you and I both kind of started in product management. And I know everyone's journey is different, everyone's company is different, and how every company does product management is different. We've touched on that a lot. The problem is how you start in product management can differ so much that even you could be creating some of those frameworks by just doing. And so when you read a book and when you learn the rice framework, how you apply that at each company could be totally different. And so whether or not it's relevant, very like it could be a stretch, right? And so I think these frameworks and these things that we read about, they're great in theory, but whether or not they actually can be applied is really dependent on the circumstance of the company and its current state of the business. How many engineers do you have? How many product people are available? Like it all is just so, I guess, so up in the air. So I think that frameworks are great to read about, but not necessarily applicable to your current situation. And I think that we just need to not feel like bad product people for not applying everything we read in a book. So kudos to you for being willing to do that very early in your career and not feeling bad about it. So Just my 2 cents.
So
um,
here.
so I think that one of the things that we really try to do on this podcast, and sorry, my mouse is dying here. One of the things we really try to do on this podcast is apply as much or provide as much advice to aspiring PMs as we can. I know that the advice changes week after week after week. I would say that the advice is definitely different, but a lot of the same principles still apply. So it sounds like you have not only applied for jobs that are in the product space, but you're also currently kind of doing this shift into product management, at least hands-on work while working as a project manager. So you're kind of transitioning a little bit within your own company. So I'm curious, like, what kind of advice would you offer for somebody that's aspiring to be a product manager in the next year or two, or even just in the present day?
That's a great question. And okay, so I have a few things. I'll start. I'll go one by one. So
Sure.
what I have realized is, because the beauty of product management is that it's not just, like I said, it's not monotonous. So there are a lot of things. It's amalgamation of a lot of skills, right? So what I would recommend anyone, and that's what I did, is to see what your current role is wherever you are working, and just try to see and also read about the skills or needed, or the roles and responsibilities of a product manager, and look at both of those things and try to marry the commonalities, right? And I think I can say it with a lot of confidence that any role that you are doing, and if you want to transition into product management, there would be some transferable skills. So try to showcase that on your resume when you're applying for positions like that. That's one. Second, I would say networking really helped me. I still do a lot of networking. Try to talk to as many people, as many product managers, as much as you can, and reach out to them on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid of rejection or they won't respond. Uh, I think maybe probably 5 or 10 people would respond out of 100. So keep doing that. Keep learning. Keep listening to podcasts like these, reading books, and all of those. The third thing I would say, and I was lucky, because when I was looking for, I was very much focused, okay, I need to get a role in product management. But one of my mentors during my job search, he suggested me that you can start a career in project management, and see how things work in a software tech company, right? And learn from there. So that's how I got this job into project management. So it's like, for me, for a few years, I want to work as a project manager, and then understand how the product management how a product is managed, and how things function here. And again, yes, I was fortunate to having been getting an opportunity to just, it's been like 1 year I've been working here, and within like just a few months I got an opportunity to manage a product. So I think that really helps, because wherever you are working, talk to, if you have product managers in your company, talk to them, volunteer for work, take out some extra time to help them. So I think that really helps, because if you the one thing that I realized is, don't wait for the title to come to you uh, directly, because for some people it would, but for most of us it won't. So just try to see how you can contribute in the current role you are, and then slowly make a pivot.
That I want to just take that whole section of what you just said and just like have a spin-off video of just that. That was so good. And it's really honestly stuff that we hear and have experienced ourselves. Like Meg and I both came into product management doing exactly what you just said. Using our skills to get into a company or into a place that we know we can execute on and do it well. Raising interest, like you raised with your manager, that you want to do this kind of thing. This is what you're looking to do, and you kind of like map out your career goals with them. And then actually just doing some of the work. So I remember when I was pivoting, I was half QA analyst, half associate PM, and that's how I continued to pivot into the role fully. So the stuff that you just shared is remarkable. Meg, I don't know if you want to add into anything on that, but it fantastic tips.
No, I think he hit the nail on the head. It's the exact same for me. I mean, it's just like you said, I was half head of CS and half product manager at the same time because it was the needs of the business at the time, right? It was like we didn't need a full time PM, but we needed a head of CS. So, I mean, I had the same experience. And like you said, don't wait for the title because I think product management, the role itself is so new that I think we've put it on this pedestal that you need to have X amount of experience to get the role, but like it's only been around for so long that we only have so many people out there with that amount of experience. And so I think that getting in, getting some hands-on experience regardless of the actual role, and then trying to pivot into that role is a lot easier than getting those entry level jobs with 5 years of experience that still need to be there, because it's just harder to do. And there's a lot of competition for them, unfortunately. So, like you said, just try to pivot from an existing company. And you said it took months. So that's a lot of patience that's required to take a couple of months.
Yeah, I would say it also depends in the culture and the kind of company you are working. So in my organization, all the leaders they have this focus, just the employee growth. They want their employees to grow. So I think that also really helps because when I talk to my direct manager about it, that I want to do it, will you let me do it? And he said, yes, you should try. If you like it, you should do that. So I think that also really helps.
Is that something that you looked for before you got that offer? Is that something you kind of like fielded out? Would this support my product management goals?
To be honest, I did not. I was thinking about, okay, it would come maybe after 2 or 3 years, but it came in early, so I welcomed it, yeah, with open
Good
hands.
karma.
Sounds like you have a cool manager.
Yeah.
Cool
Yeah,
manager.
for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do have one more question if that's okay. Kind of two actually, because we touched on like the books that you've been reading books and listening to podcasts and also networking. So my two questions are one, do you feel comfortable sharing kind of some of the courses, the books, the podcasts that you found to be helpful for you in your transition thus far? And two, I'd love to hear afterwards some of your networking tips because I've heard from other aspiring PMs it can be a little tricky to try to navigate the networking scene. So I'd love to hear what's worked for you on that front as well.
Uh, sure. So I will be reading a few more books that my mentor has recommended me. But during that time, I read a book called "Cracking the PM Interview" by, I think, Gail and Jackie. Yeah, and then there is another person called Chris. I think it's called the Design of Everyday Things. So that was recommended to me back in school. So I read that, and there was one other book which is called Decode and Conquer. This is by, I think, Chris Lewis, or yeah, I don't remember the name exactly. And in terms of these certifications, I did the Scrum Product Owner, the Scrum Master, because that keeps you very close to the product role, and you can learn a lot and understand how it works. uh, in terms of networking, so there are all the events that I would go to in and around my area. There are some events which happen on Zoom. So what I would do is, because I am usually very introverted, but then I had to come out of my shell. And so what I did was, whenever I'm talking to them, I ask them two questions during the end of the conversation. One was, can you connect me to two more people? And second is, if you can review my resume and give me some feedback on that. So that's how I was able to make a chain of networking events, and I still have that Excel, and I'm still in touch with most of those people. So that Excel, if you would see, like more than 300 or 350 contacts I have.
Wow.
And a lot of those, and not because it's been like 2 3 years now, so but I can say that I'm still in contact with at least 30 or 40 of them. Every 2 or 3 months I send them an email, give them my updates. And I'm going to do this, that I'll be coming on a podcast with you, so I'm going to share it with them also. So that's what I would say, to keep doing that. And I think when I remove that fear of rejection, oh, I will message someone and they won't respond. so which is okay. So I would like send emails or messages to 100 people, and it's okay if 2 3 4 respond, because then those 2 3 4 would connect me to two more people, and then that's how it will be a ripple effect.
Was
You
the
were not
goal
playing
like,
games.
yeah, I'm curious, like, was the goal or was the outreach source LinkedIn? Did you just outreach a bunch of PMs on LinkedIn?
I did reach out to PMs on LinkedIn, but I would also say that do not, even if you want to get into product management, do not be fixated on just reaching out to the PMs. Reach out to other people also, because you never know. Those other people may also have contacts with PMs. So
Love
LinkedIn
that.
was one. This second is the, so I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. So there are these networking events that happen. So I would go there. Then there are some Zoom events also. So it's like I was just trying and doing everything that I could possibly do.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, seriously, good for you. That's a lot of intentional work. I think Meg and I we've been doing this LinkedIn thing for a long time, and it's a lot of work to build your network, people. I'm not gonna
Yes.
sugarcoat it. Like, oh my goodness, I have a fabulous community around me now. I'm so grateful, praise God. But like, it's a lot of work. It is a lot. So good for you for doing that. And just sorry, final question from me, and then I'll stop. But you mentioned that don't be afraid to reach out to other people aside from PMs. Who were some of those other people you were reaching out to kind of continue to get your, I guess, your hands permeated into the PM community?
So one of the things that I did was in my previous organizations, because I was in India, but then when I came here, so I would look out for people who are, say, customer insights manager or the marketing directors, people like those. And so I also interned at NetApp, so I would reach out to them as well, because they would have then connections within the company and outside of it. So maybe the data managers or the innovation experts, all of those kind of people. So that has really helped me. And now with AI booming in, so now I'm trying to connect with people with whom I can talk about AI more.
That's impressive. I thought you really strategized that.
Santi's like, I'm taking this and I'm going to implement it right away.
I'm just like, this is we're doing a side series of networking tips with the product division.
I think networking, it's like, okay, I have to join a Zoom call, or okay, I have to like message this person and try to get them on like a coffee chat. And that's like kind of boring. So I think the more fun that you can make networking and the more intentional that you can make networking, the better. Because I've done like both sides. When I was first starting out on LinkedIn, I joined like a, how do you like start posting on LinkedIn group, and like we all posted together so that way it was less scary, and I did that and that was fun. Met a lot of people. And then like as time has gone on, I did like a lot of coffee chats, and now I do like more mentoring. And so I feel like I've tried different levels of networking, but I never went that hardcore. So hats off to you. Is there anything that you'd like to discuss that we have yet to cover?
Uh, I think whatever I wanted to talk or I had in my mind, you guys were bang on. You asked all those questions.
Okay,
But I would really like to thank you both for having me here and giving me this opportunity.
of
And I'm
course.
really looking forward to the release.
Of course. We're so thankful that you took the time to come on. Honestly, like things like this really help the community. So we're really thankful that you're here. Um, but Santi, I feel like you had another question.
We can ask. Let's experiment with this one. Kartikeya, I apologize because I've got a couple. We usually ask kind of a fun little question at the end of these episodes. I'm thinking is, what's your red flag as a product manager?
Like the pressure.
It's an honor, really, because
It's
these
an
questions
honor.
people come back to us about.
I think a red flag is bad communication,
That's a good
which
one.
which I have experienced with myself also. So yeah, communication should be super clear. So
Yeah.
because you are managing different kinds of people, you are working with different kinds of people, and everybody may understand things in their own way. So it is super important to have a clear and concise communication.
So how do you spot that early?
He's gonna be like, I'm never doing a podcast again.
I mean, you can answer it, Santi. We don't have to torture him. I'm just curious, like, how do you spot it early?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I'm curious too. I think, like, at least for me.
So we're gonna make him answer. This poor guy. He's gonna go back. He's gonna go back to Aaron and be like, "Never again."
He's gonna be like, you can't talk to these people anymore. For me,
Did you introduce me to these ladies?
Well, listen. So for me, because I've fallen into this trap of bad communication, because sometimes in my brain, I'm like, everything makes sense. And I'm like one of those people, if you can't tell, I'm very high energy. And I'm like, let's go do it. So what helps me is kind of just like retroing a little bit based off of the responses I get when I say something, like people might have questions, or they might be like, well, what does this mean? I kind of do like a little self retro where I'm like, okay, so they're asking this question, which means I didn't say what I needed to say in a way that they understood. So shout out to Brody. He talks about adaptive communication, and what he says in this clip that I love is it's not about what you say, it's about how the other person hears it. So spotting it early, I think it's a little bit of trial and error, but a question I guess you could ask yourself is like, take me out of the equation for a minute in the context I know. Should I assume this person has the context I have? If yes, you kind of proceed as normal. Like me and my PMs will we know the context of what we're working on, so we can just kind of ask these questions. But if I'm going to an outside group or to an outside stakeholder, the first thing I kind of do is like, all right, what do they need to know? Make it concise as possible and pretend that I, am talking to someone that has zero understanding of it. They might already, but pretend I have zero understanding. That sort of thinking kind of helps me, and it looks different depending on who you're talking to, but that's how I've kind of helped, tune up my communication skills over the years. You guys feel free to answer. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I like your answer. I think it's good, and you're right. Adaptive communication is huge. I think if we're still getting asked questions, especially with like written documentation, it's not clear. And I think that one of the key skills of being a PM is being able to ask questions ourselves and being able to retro ourselves and challenge ourselves in our way of thinking. So I think that it's okay to get those questions, but if you can't answer it, it's probably a problem. So just my personal opinion. And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I'm going to pass it over to you anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was just thinking about it while you were sharing your thoughts. So I see it on the other side also. Like, okay, if they are asking questions, but what if I need to ask questions also, right? Because sometimes, because everyone is different, sometimes the client is saying something and I am not understanding. Rather than just, okay, saying a yes to them or okay to them, or saying that, okay, let me check and get back to you, just ask some questions like to clarify, so that you are able to put it in the right way in front of whoever you want to talk to with about it. So that's what I'm learning. Ask as many questions, whether it's because I've seen that with clients, you may be a little worried, or maybe a little bit of scared, like, okay, what will they think? But I think it's better to ask all of those questions, however stupid they are, to ask them and clarify everything. Yeah.
No stupid questions, I feel like. I think questions is just, I call them clarifying questions. Every question is just a clarifying question when you're talking to users. I feel like you're just trying to get an understanding so you're both aligned. That's how I feel.
100%. There it is. Meg, that's going on a t-shirt. We're going to start having merch. Shout out to product merch brought to you by Meg.
No, we're gonna put his networking strategy on the front, and then it'll just go all the way around because it's long, but it's also so informative. But this has been so fun. Thank you so much for your time to come on the episode or the podcast. Thank you for your time to come on the podcast. I'm sorry, I said the episode, but it's actually a podcast. But we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights, because I feel like we kind of had like a season where there wasn't a ton of content for aspiring product managers, especially like in the age of AI. It's becoming like, personally, this is my perception. There's a perception out there that being an aspiring PM, it's even harder. So I feel like the more content that we can have to help and inspire aspiring PMs, the better. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Just my 2 cents. What do you think, Santi?
I no, I agree. I think this is I think we serve a good group of different folks in the product community in different stages of their career, but I am very much interested in having these conversations, especially for those aspiring folks, because there's a lot out there. And as my motto is, and what I was told when I became a mom is, take what's useful for you, leave the rest. So this episode, I feel, had a ton of useful information that I think our listeners will love. So thank you again for coming on and sharing all of that. You were absolutely amazing.
Sure, sure. And thank you again for having me here. And I know that it is very difficult to find a job into product management, and with the uncertain, precarious times we are in at the moment, it makes it even more difficult. So I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, if I can do anything else, please let me know.
Love that. Well, if anyone needs his networking strategy, find him on LinkedIn.